Rite of Passage, the podcast with Jaylon Martin.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the show. We are here with Mr. Jaylon Martin, author of the upcoming book, I Talk to Horses. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
So far, so good. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was looking into I Talk to Horses ahead of this. That's your upcoming book. That's coming out. You got it on pre-order. When is it coming out?
February 7th.
February 7th. You excited?
I'm very excited.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah,
So
this is going to be my sixth published book.
sixth?
Yeah, my sixth. I've been writing books since I was 13. So this March would make 10 years since I've become an author.
No kidding. So you're only 23 then?
I turn 24 next week.
Very cool. Well, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but to be 23, 24, already six books deep, that's very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
So do you focus on poetry or like what all have you written in your six books?
I basically have done it all. Poetry is just kind of what I've been focused on recently due to a series of events. But
Okay.
I published first a sci-fi trilogy in middle school, and then I published an autobiography when I was a freshman in in college. In 2023, I published my first poetry book called Recovery Ride. And so I Talk to Horses will serve as my second poetry book, but my sixth book overall.
Very cool. So you started at 13. What got you into writing, or was it always kind of calling you, or tell me about that a little bit?
It was it was always calling me, but I've never was sure on what story to write. So I owe like all of my thanks to my English teacher in the eighth grade. So she had us do like an assignment where we had to create our own dystopian universe, being like a chaotic universe.
Yeah, yeah.
So that project inspired me so much where I just wanted to write like a full-length story
Hmm.
of it. And then that one book became three. That series is called The Black Star Universe, where I'm actually planning on rewriting it
Yeah, yeah.
because I feel like my writing has grown since I was 13 writing that series. And I feel like my first series deserves the writer who I became. So that'll be my next series of projects I'm working on.
I get that. Yeah, bring it up to like your current level of skill and really bring it to
Yes,
life in a new way with, everything you've learned over the last 10 years kind of thing.
yes.
Yeah, I certainly relate to that. So, in your personal time, do you work with horses or like what is the?
So I Talk to Horses is basically about me doing equine therapy. So basically, this book serves as an unintentional sequel to my last poetry book, Recovery Ride, where I was healing from alcoholism. And
Hmm.
so in this book, it's all about healing from the source. So I originate from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and there's a horse ranch in Sulphur that I go to every month. Now I've been going twice a month where I just go and talk and feed to horses, and it's been a healing experience. It's definitely healed a lot of wounds from my past dealing with addiction and my past dealing with the source of addiction as well.
Hmm.
And this May 5th, I'll be making 2 years sobering up from alcoholism.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
amazing.
you so much.
Yeah, if
Thank
it's
you.
if you're comfortable talking about it, when you say the source of alcoholism, like in your opinion, what is the source?
The source was me being around a group of people that didn't really want the best for me. It's the best way I could say it. Um, a lot of people tell me all the time when I tell them, "Oh, I've been sober from alcoholism for over a year." They tell me, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible, but you're so young." So my addiction came from like my last year of college and my senior year. So college is basically like the breeding ground of addiction. A lot of people don't know, but there's like a lot of like college kids who either go through alcoholism or drug abuse or abuse in general. It's
Mhm.
very common. Addiction, it doesn't discriminate whatsoever. It can look like anybody, no matter how old you are, no matter how you look, where you've come from. Like it doesn't exempt anybody.
Right, right. It is something that plagues every culture around the world. And I mean it's just part of like the human experience that like even in certain seasons that we all have vulnerability to something, right?
Yes,
Yeah. And I do agree with you that college environment can be very toxic. I have seen
absolutely.
that. I've seen a lot of people who, didn't last all through college. You got through and graduated and everything?
Oh, yes, I definitely did. So I'm currently a high school teacher. I graduated from McNeese State in December 2023 with a
Awesome.
bachelor's in English. So
Amazing.
I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful to God that the addiction didn't take me alive or just ruin my life so much where I was not able to finish college because I was right at the start. I was right at the finish line. So I'm just like, this has to stop somewhere.
Right. Like we're so close to just, yeah, getting this done. And like, I can't
Yes.
now, right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the role of religion and like getting clean and sober. I often feel like sometimes addiction comes from us having like an innate need for religion or worship or to feel like there's more. And then if we don't believe anything, but we still have that need, um, I don't know. Some people call it like the God hole or something. It's like, I don't know.
Hmm.
It's hard to explain. I haven't really put it into words exactly, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Faith is a very important aspect of my life.
Mhm.
So I tend to not make New Year's resolutions because sometimes we don't follow through with them.
Right.
But the New Year's resolution I've made is I've always been close to my faith, but I found myself like straying off a little bit,
Hmm.
not not intentionally, just life tends to like tire me out, especially when like you're a high school teacher. So I told myself, I'm like, look, regardless of how tired I'm feeling, we gotta get back on track with with my relationship with God and
Right.
my faith, because that has to come first before any job or any book I write, because God is only the reason why I am able to say I sobered up and I'll be reaching 2 years in May, or I'm about to be 24th and coming out with my sixth book. He
Right.
gets
Right.
all credit, all
Yeah.
credit.
And having that strong relationship is the source of this creativity and yeah, like losing touch with that, is losing touch with like the living water that sustains you kind of thing or
Absolutely.
yeah. So tell me, what is it about working with horses that was so therapeutic?
So I began equine therapy. So for anyone who doesn't know what equine therapy is, it's a therapeutic process that incorporates horses. And I began my equine therapy back in April. So before I did equine therapy, I did like regular therapy. It was good. It
Mhm.
was helping. My therapist was like amazing, but there was just something I was missing. There was something
Mhm.
else I wanted to try. So I visited Almost the Ranch back in April last year, and I didn't know much about horses other than they're beautiful and friendly. So I just brought like a big bag of apples for the horses. I didn't know what else to bring, but I brought that. And
Yeah.
so the ranch has at least 20 horses. That includes the ponies there, the ponies and donkeys there, who are still maturing into mares and stallions.
Hmm.
So there was this one horse, and that horse is on the cover of the book.
Yeah,
That
it's a
horse is
beautiful
named,
horse.
oh yes, that's Bo. He's
Hmm.
so sweet, has heterochromia. He has one blue eye and one brown eye.
Whoa.
And so when I first met Bo, the first day I started doing equine therapy, there was an instant connection between him and I. So even after I finished feeding him,
Mhm.
him and the other horses, everything I had, he followed me around the ranch the entire time
Yeah.
I was there. And so I'm like, hey, I don't have anything else. But I just paused for a second. I'm like, wait, this horse isn't coming to me because I have something. But there was that instant connection between him and I. Like we just locked eyes right then and there, and we just been best friends ever since then. Every time I visit, we go on our walks. I talk to him, I feed him, and the other horses too. I got to make
Right.
sure I show love and attention to the other horses too, because one thing about horses is that they feel very strongly and they do get jealous. So just so they won't feel that jealousy, I feed them, make sure I give my attention to them, and then I give my attention to Bo. So Bo has become my emotional support horse at this point.
Yeah, horses are extraordinary. And this may be like kind of strange for people who haven't been around horses or don't really like animals, but um there's certain creatures that human beings have a strange connection to, like dogs, cats, horses. And a lot of times scientists, we kind of downplay it that like, oh, we co-evolved with these animals and that's why we have some connection to them. But there's something more to it with like, and horses are incredibly just I want to call almost like supernatural, but it's weird that they
Yes,
like us, they let us ride them, like they want to work with us, they want to be around us, they play off of our emotions and feelings. Like they are very extraordinary animals.
that's great that you meant that. I was just about to touch on that.
Mm.
Supernatural would be the perfect way I would describe it. The
Right,
one thing among many things I've learned about doing equine therapy is horses, they love blindly, regardless if you have something for them or not. And it makes me so emotional sometimes because I tell people, I said, horses tend to love more than people. Horses
right,
don't discriminate when
right.
people do. And I find that just so extraordinary. And then even when I take my walks with Bo, so Bo likes it when you sing to him. And depending on the song that I'm singing, I'm a big country music fan. There was
Cool.
one song that I was singing that he just loved, and he was like swifting his mane around, like Bo has a little rhythm on him.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then there was and then there was another one that became like my favorite song last year, Cowboys Cry Too by Kelsey Ballerini and Noah
Mm.
Kahan. I was singing that one to him. That one is a bit sad than the other song I was singing.
Yeah,
And he placed his head on my shoulder and brushed against me as if asking, like, are you okay? Because this is a sad song you're singing. And it's just mind blowing because although horses can't word talk with us, they understand us. And we tend to have a way to understand them depending on like their body language and their
right.
action. And I just find that just so amazing. Like there's not a big enough word to describe it.
No, there's like a whole lot I want to say about all of that. I'll add, just really quick, like you hear some stories sometimes about like a whale where like they'll partner for life kind of thing, and one of them passes away and the other one will like go up on the beach and just grief, and horses are like that. I mean, they feel very deeply, but it is interesting that like music transcends all kinds of like language and like music exists in a place where like words fall short and I'd put poetry in there too, but like I have a 12-month-old son and like I didn't have to teach him how to dance or rhythm. I mean, like animals, babies, horses. I mean, music is just a powerful artistic force.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. I encourage anyone listening to this, if you haven't spent time around horses, do so. One
Yes.
thing I'll add really quick, I had a buddy who, had to go to rehab back in high school and he had a choice of like where to go. And he went on like this Appalachian Trail hiking rehab where they just like hiked as a group and camped and like were just in the woods for like 3 months. And it was the most powerful experience he ever had. I mean, he like, has been talking about it ever since. And I just think there's something about that whole like reconnecting, getting your feet on the ground, in the grass, working with animals, hiking, sweating it out, being part of nature, like getting away from all the madness and just being
Yes.
connected kind of thing. So much more powerful than just, I think, talking to someone and, just
Yes.
trying not to get drunk or do drugs, like actually connecting to fill that void kind of thing.
Yes. Because that
Yeah.
thing with like being like on the ranch, it's way more refreshing being out in the open than being in like a cramped city filled with miserable people.
Right. And just playing on that energy, right? And I imagine as a
Yes.
poet, you probably, and people overplay the word, empathetic or empath or whatever, but I do think, like horses, artists kind of pick up on just the vibe of everyone around them. And sometimes I think we do let it influence us more than we should. Instead of like kind of standing our ground with like, hey, I'm in a good mood, I'm doing my thing. Like we kind of absorb whatever environment we're in at any given moment kind of thing. And do you like feel that at all, or you just kind of like you got your thing, you're doing your thing?
Honestly, a mixture of both, actually. I tried not to let my surroundings affect me because that's what unfortunately caused me to have like an alcohol addiction to
Right.
begin with because I felt like I had to impress the people I
Yeah.
was around. Like they partied all the time. So I felt like I had to do the same. And there was times where I felt like this what I'm seeing, this isn't right, what they're doing, this isn't right. And then there was many times where I just spoke up and just like, this isn't right. What I'm seeing is not cool. Like this is not what I signed up for or wanted to be a part of.
Hmm.
And in response, I would get like gaslighted. And it
Mm,
just led to a point where I just cope through the alcohol. And I'm just like, if nobody around me is able to feel what I'm feeling, maybe I'm the crazy one. And I would just use alcohol to just numb myself. So
yeah.
when I was in my dorm in college, the only thing I would have in my mini fridge was like a wide empty bottle of margarita mix for
Mm,
months. Like I would want to get rid of it, and then I wouldn't to this day. Like I don't know why I had that bottle in my fridge for
interesting.
so many months, even if it was empty.
Yeah.
But
The
as far
Native
as like the,
American.
oh, you go ahead.
Oh, yeah, the Native Americans have this thing about like these two wolves that are inside every man, and one of them is, I don't know, dark and corrupt and like seven deadly sins, and the other one is like this light that illuminates the world, and whichever one's going to win is just whichever one you feed, kind of thing. And being around the wrong people and feeding the wrong wolf for too long, I mean, you can get stuck, and it can be very hard to climb out of that hole. I mean, we're like creatures of habit and patterns, and it is hard to break patterns that you've been reinforcing for a long time without like some significant shift, like, hey, I'm going to go work with horses and get outside and cut off all these people and do something radically different. It's very hard to
Yes.
just, yeah, to change what you're doing without changing your environment and all the things that got you into that place, right? So did you have to cut off all those people?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I absolutely did like to the point where I had to do a lot of blocking on
Mhm.
social media. Sometimes the blocking wouldn't be enough. Sometimes I would have to remove myself from social media altogether. So I consider last year me going into hiding. Like it was like right after college and I was still trying to experience the real world. And so I haven't seen any of these individuals for over a year.
Mm.
And I've just been so overprotective with my peace, especially with the new person I've become. So I don't know who out there like needs to hear this, but when you're dealing with addiction, whether if you recover or not, especially when you recover, there's gonna be people from the past who tend to bring up everything that you did or said while you were drunk. Like to this day, to those people, I'm still the boy who got drunk at the Cinco de Mayo party. I'm still that label to this day. But it doesn't affect me anymore because I'm a completely new person. And the old Jaylon, who they're still spinning around to others like a tall tale, I'm just like, they can have it because that's not who I am anymore. But they don't have access to who you and I are talking to
Yeah.
right now. It's like a completely different person. And I'm just so like super duper overprotective about it. So I'm just very careful who I welcome into my life, the circles I have. Um, I have a very good support. I have a very wonderful support system. My family, my friends, whenever like we go out, one of my friends always asks like when they order like an alcoholic drink and they ask, "Oh my God, I completely forgot you're sober. Like, are you comfortable?" And I've
Yeah.
gotten so strong in my sobriety where I'm just like, enjoy yourself, go ahead. Because
Right.
in the beginning of my recovery, the sight of a drink would just would just tick me off to the point where the withdrawals were very painful. Like where like if something or someone would like just piss me off, I would want a drink. And I was in recovery and I'm just like I have to find something else so I won't go back to old habits.
No, this is amazing. This is honestly not the conversation I expected at all, but this is very, very powerful. And I think it's incredibly valuable because a lot of people are quietly struggling with a lot of these things. And our society sets us up for it in a lot of ways. So like don't feel any
Yes.
shame. We're all here to get better. We're all on a journey. We'll help and learn from one another. I will add one thing you said that's very wise is essentially just knowing yourself, right? That like, okay,
Yes.
in this season, it's almost like, and the Native Americans say this about a snake, that like you need to shed your skin to grow, and we got to learn from the snake, right? but the snake
Yes.
has to hide while it's doing that because it's a vulnerable position, right? So like there are seasons where like, okay, I need to get rid of the things that aren't serving me, and like it might be a little uncomfortable, a little vulnerable, and I kind of got to lay
Ooh,
low, just kind of like watch out for myself. Like I'm not ready to be around alcohol. I'm not ready to be around these people. And then you just got to know what season you're in. Another thing I'll add that I relate to for sure is I've had people in my life that wouldn't give me the grace to grow. Like
absolutely.
people you knew when like you were 15 and they think that you are like still that person at 25, 30. I'm like, don't put anyone in a little box and don't stunt their
Yes.
growth that like whatever opinion I had of you, you will never change that. You will never shift. You will never evolve. Like you are always going to be that person. And I'm like, that's a very unfair and unwise thing to do to people. And if you got people like that in your life, I mean, you just need to hold your ground and like whatever you're building, wherever you are, and maybe they'll come to your level, maybe not, but don't go down to their level where they think you are, kind of thing.
That's amazing that you mentioned that because there are many things I want readers to get out of I Talk to Horses.
Mhm.
So unlike Recovery Ride, like I said, like in the beginning, Recovery Ride was about healing from the addiction, while I Talk to Horses, it's about healing from the source. So back when I was like in my final semester at McNeese, I was Recovery Ride was just coming out, and I was still healing. And so sometimes God tends to have you t sober up from the addiction in order so you can clearly see the false wizard behind the curtain,
Mm.
metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I've used this metaphor so many times. It's like it's no other way I can describe it because if I couldn't, like the thing is, when I was sobering up, I was trying to sober up for those people when those people wanted the worst for me. And so once like I sobered up and was able to see clearly, I'm just like, this is not who I need to better my life for. It needs to be for me and only me.
Right, like
But
this is a dead end. Everything I've been chasing is a dead end. It leads nowhere, and I had to go down that road to realize it goes nowhere. But now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, let's put the car in reverse and back the hell out of this path. Yeah.
absolutely. So what I want readers to get out of I Talk to Horses is sometimes the horse has to find you and pick you up so you may be able to ride into the sunset. Sometimes the sunset isn't a destination. Sometimes it is the healing process. Sometimes you are the sunset and you just have to brighten up just a little and then more and more and more until you just realize, wow, the sunset was here all along. And this book covers many subjects: addiction, heartbreak, friendship heartbreak, betrayal, growth, happiness, depression. It covers all of those things because that is all that I went through as I was going through equine therapy in order to truly heal from the past.
It sounds like a very, very powerful book that really covers all bases of like the human experience and not just because sometimes people write things that are just too personal and like there's no
Oh, yes,
resolution, right? It's one thing like you're writing it from the other side, right? Where you're like,
yes.
okay, I went through this, like here's poems about what it felt like, but there's also poems about evolving through it and growing and how to get out of that. So it sounds like it's got a tremendous amount it can teach as well.
So, for example, just to name like two poems, these two poems are among my favorites, like out of the entire collection.
Do
I
you want
hope
to
the
read one
readers.
by chance? If you got it handy,
Oh,
no pressure. But if you got it, I'd love to hear one.
okay, sure.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Also, I love the cover. That is a beautiful horse. I like the
Oh
cowboy.
yeah, one of my sorority friends did the photography for it. She did amazing, and Bo did such a good job
Yeah,
with
he's
the photo
very,
shoot.
very photogenic horse.
Oh yes, he loves being the star of the show, and I don't mind at all. So
While you're
this
looking,
is
don't let me forget. I do want to come back to this idea of the horse has to find you because I want to pick your brain on that. But I will let you take it away if you are ready, sir.
okay. So this is among one of my favorites of the book. So at first, I wasn't even sure that I wanted to put this one in because of how sensitive it was. So this one touches on a friendship breakup I had from those group for someone from those group of people. This person I was actually trying to sober up for until like reality crashed in, was like, this person is just not for you. So this one is called Brown-Eyed Lucifer.
Mm.
The scariest thing I ever seen was an angel turning into the devil in front of me. I used to say things like, I can't love my enemies. I used to say things like, I'll forgive when I'm ready. From the bottom of my heart, I want to let go. The more I hold on, the more I reach a new low. I want to forgive, but I can't forget. I forgive you, man, but I won't forget when you left. I once wrote about seeing somebody's white wings, allowing them to listen in on many prayers, hearing so many things. Ignorantly, I forged the weapon they need against me. I learned Lucifer had brown eyes when I couldn't find some truth in those lies. I accepted Lucifer had brown eyes, knowing I'll never get an answer to my questions, beginning with why. I was so excited about growing a garden, I forgot to look for a snake. If I had more time, I would have sucked the venom out before it was too late. I'm hurt, but I don't want it to lead to hate. I held on to every fabrication, but I can't hold on to your bait. I forgive me. I know where to start. I need to saddle up because this won't be my last broken heart. I'm not in your passenger seat because I'm driving my own car. I guess you're buying your own daiquiris at that bar. I can't wonder where you are anymore. You no longer stand at my door. I can't keep crediting you for burning me to the core. You brown-eyed Lucifer, you're not the angel on my shoulder anymore.
I love it. There's a lot of wisdom in there.
I
Definitely a
love
lot.
that poem.
Oh, you did a great job with it. I mean, it was like it's just right because sometimes poetry for me it's either too obvious or too obscure. But that was like
Yes,
just right where it's like I'm following everything you're saying, but there's something to consider with every line.
yes.
So that's what I consider that was awesome poetry. Yeah.
At the same time with this poem, I wanted it to demonstrate forgiveness while also acknowledging, hey, what you've done to me was horrible. But just because, like, people tend to get it twisted when it comes to forgiveness.
Hmm.
Like, when we forgive people, some people are like, oh my God, thank you for forgiving me. Now that I feel better. The forgiveness is not for the person to make them feel better about themselves. Forgiveness is for us and strictly for us. So we are able to move on. Because there was a time that this individual, codename Brown Eyed Lucifer, had so much power over my life where I had to literally be careful where I go out of fear of seeing this person. I feel like I was imprisoning myself.
Mm. And it sounds like, I mean, based on the poem, like this is a person who was a confidant who like knew you as well as the people closest to you, and then ultimately used that against you.
The thing is, like, this person was my rock at a point where we would pray with each other every Sunday.
Mm.
Like, even though I was making straight A's and B's in college, like, this person was struggling.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say failing, but that person was struggling.
Hmm.
And as a friend, I just couldn't sit back and just allow that person to struggle. And I'm like, let's pray together. And we prayed every Sunday.
Mm.
And
That's a good thing to do.
that was the first time in my life where I opened myself up spiritually to
Hmm.
let a person listen in on everything that I was sharing with my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
And once that betrayal came in, that's that's the worst hurt that I've ever experienced in my life. And the thing about faith is sometimes that summer of 2023, I cried every single day,
Mm.
every single day, to the point where like,
Oh, Jaylon. Jaylon.
oh, yeah, I think you broke up right there.
Yeah, we froze for a second. So, okay. I just got the notification we got 10 minutes left. But yeah,
Okay.
one of us was frozen for a second. So, last thing I heard was you were crying every single day and then it cut off.
Oh yeah, I was crying every single day, but sometimes faith tends to have us hit us rock bottom emotionally
Mm.
to prepare us for that true joy. Because at the time I was always questioning, I'm like, why did this person do this to me? Why are these people helping this person do this to me? Like going back to Brown Eyed Lucifer, I had to accept that I'm never gonna get the answer to the questions beginning with why.
Yeah. There's a hell of a lot to unpack in there. I got a lot of thoughts. One of them for sure, and this is something my wife always tells me, and I'm glad she's got a lot of the missing pieces. I used to think I could kind of save people, but
Mhm.
you can't help anyone who doesn't want help and doesn't know that there's something wrong. But one thing
Yes.
she's reinforced for me is like it is much easier to be pulled off of your chair than to pull someone up onto it with you. And I used to think that I was like powerful enough that I could just like be around anything and I could pull people up and lift them up and really more often than not, I was actually just pulled off of where I was and dragged down to whatever place kind of thing. And that's something I've had to certainly learn the hard way here. But I will add in terms of faith, for me, like my lowest points have been my strongest seasons of like personal spiritual growth. And it's almost like
Yes.
this idea that good is the worst enemy of great. Like if things are good, it's holding you back from what could be better because like you're comfortable enough to not make changes. But sometimes when you fall on your ass, for lack of a better term, you're looking around and you got to reinvent everything and reassess everything. And then you can rebuild yourself and rebuild yourself with a connection to God and actually make something real and strong that cannot be easily taken from you, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And it sounds like this season had a lot of that for you. Like you fell hard, but what you rebuilt is a much stronger, it's a house that's not built on a foundation of sand kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you said the horse finds you, tell me about that.
So, looking back into early last year, where I was like fresh out of college, just becoming a high school teacher, like
Hmm.
I was doing in-person therapy. So I would have never. I've always loved horses growing up, always loved them. So I would have never thought that horses would ever contribute to a season of healing. So
Mm.
in a way, they kind of found me because, but like thinking back to our Bo and I's first, when we first met.
Yeah.
Bo found me, like, despite if I had anything for the other horses or him, he latched onto me. And I'm still learning from each visit I go on the ranch as of why. So the horse, although I mean it in a physical sense, but it could also be in a metaphorical sense too. You can't control, what I mean by that is like you can't control your healing process. You cannot force your healing process.
Mm.
And I'm just going to be like brutally honest here, but you're setting yourself up for failure by forcing yourself to heal by just when you up and just say, "Oh, I'm done. I'm healed from this." No, you're not. It is a process. You cannot just get up and just be like, "I'm done." It is a process. It is a
Yeah.
very long process that doesn't have a sort of limited time because once you feel that you're completely healed, you'll feel it and you'll definitely know when to.
Yeah, and I also think it might be like I think in Narcotics Anonymous they say that you never say I'm a recovered addict. It's always I'm a recovering. And I always had mixed feelings on that, right? Because on the one hand,
Yes,
it's not very empowering to be like, I'm never really healed. But on the other hand, it's
yes.
acknowledging that like whatever pathway got me to that place, it's still somewhere in my head. Like
Oh, yes.
it's available if I have a really, really bad day. I'll remember that. I'll remember those days and those memories, and I could go back to that place if everything went horribly wrong. So, um, but
That
yeah, I do.
that night on
Go ahead.
that
No.
night on that so basically what encouraged me to get sober was like a college party that occurred on Cinco de Mayo where I I don't know if any of y'all had tequila before, but when you drink tequila, that feels like your insides burning up, like your insides just engulfed in flames, and it's not good. Honestly, to this day, even with me being all sobered up, I don't know how people can drink that because when you drink it, it's painful for you on the inside. But I drank so much of it that I blacked out. I don't remember parts of that night
Hmm.
to a point where I cried on the front lawn of that house where the college party took place. That was a wake up call for me. It was like, this is not the life I wanted to live. So
Yeah.
that is what like encouraged me to this day, even though that I'm still healing and I'm in a much better place, I still have nightmares about that night because it's horrifying when you black out and you don't remember what you said, what you have done. And all you have is the people who worked hard to destroy you, their word. That's all I have to this day.
Yeah, that's a blacking out as an adult is a scary thing for sure.
Yes.
And it's better to be in control, be conscious of everything you're doing, and um, to each their own. But if you are listening to this and you are struggling a little bit, maybe more than you even acknowledge, like it's okay. A lot of people are there. We're all on a journey. There's a lot of people going through similar things. Like you're not alone. You may feel like you're alone, but you ain't, you're not actually in this by yourself kind of thing. I do want to
Yes.
ask you about, did you always want to be a teacher? Was that just like, what, writing has been so powerful in my life. I want to teach the next generation to use this incredible art form as their own creative outlet to heal and grow.
It would definitely be the latter. With me always being in love with writing, I always wanted to encourage somebody else to show like writing does not always have to be academic. I
Mm,
have a lot of students who watches a lot of TV, and I tell them, I said, like your all your favorite Netflix series and the movies like you watch,
mhm.
Stranger Things, Wicked, they were people who were once in a classroom with all these ideas and they put it on paper and they used that in order for you to enjoy it. It starts in the classroom, whether if
Mm.
you like English or not. And that's why I tend to teach my students.
It is powerful. I have heard, when people can write their thoughts, they're incredibly powerful. But, one of these things is, I mean, you're right that like everything we've ever seen, like all the equipment we're using to do this podcast, they were all ideas in someone's head. And then they had to be put on paper to explain it to other people before it could become real. So like the ability to write, share your thoughts, I mean, it makes everything in this life possible. Like there's no
Yes,
limits if you know how to write. There's no limits to what you could do.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing teaching people. And I love this art form and I think it is extraordinary. And a lot of people don't think writing is for them, but I think no matter what, like one of these things, I started recently like journaling and stuff. I don't know if you do anything like that, just put your thoughts on paper.
Oh, absolutely.
That's like a big thing for you.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when it comes to like my fictional writing. If an idea comes to me, I have to jot it down. Even if I don't use it later on, I have to jot it down because I
Yeah.
may use it or otherwise I'm gonna forget it later and it's just gonna be gone.
Yeah, Nas has this thing. It's like this song, Book of Rhymes. This is a rap song I love back in the day, but I love this idea of like my book of rhymes kind of thing. And like I have
Okay.
notebooks like that are just like ideas that came to me, and like maybe I'll get to them, maybe not, but like I just need to make sure I do not lose them. Like put them on paper so they're available for the future, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Did you do any like was journaling a big part of like your recovery, or was that just more like on the creative and writing side? You're like big on journaling.
So, unlike I Talk to Horses, I never intended to write a book like Recovery Ride. It's
Mm,
just I was in so much emotional pain every single day that I wrote a poem every day. So I think in Recovery Ride there's about like 60-ish poems, like 60 days that
yeah,
summer, and I wrote a poem like every single day. That
like
was my way out,
like a living journal, basically.
a living journal to the point I'm like, wow, like I got to do something with this
Yeah,
because again, college kids go through addiction. In case
yeah,
that there's anybody out there who doesn't know, it happens to them.
yeah. I know we have less than a minute left, which is a bummer because I'm
Yes.
enjoying this. I'm gonna leave all
Yes.
all of your links in the descriptions. People can find your books, find you on social media, connect.
Yes.
This was an awesome conversation. I would do this again with you anytime.
Oh, absolutely. You were an incredible interviewer.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I never hear that, but I no, that's cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I really hope your podcast stays considered. Like we don't really know if TikTok is going to be gone or not, because that's how I found you.
Right, right. No, we will for sure do this again. So stay in touch.
Yes.
All your links will be in the description. We'll do this again very soon.